Hi, my name's Geoff Kirkwood. I record music as Manpower, more recently as Bedwetter, and previously that as Tropical Bastard as well. And I run the label Me Records. I mean, yes and no. I think what's developed in the space of time since I've had some level of success, which I guess would be around about the last sort of 7 or 8 years, or 8 or 9 years actually, the whole nature of social media has kind of changed. There's a big support network that exists with people using social media, and I think people are a lot more savvy on it at the time. When I first started out, there was no real route. I think I was one of the kind of pathfinders because I'm definitely a social media phenomenon, or at least Manpower is. That became big through people sharing it on Facebook, particularly Facebook, not Instagram or Twitter, people connecting with me through there and through YouTube videos. And that was kind of the only route for it. Now there's kind of a mutual support network of people, there's clusters, and they all know how to use the internet, and there's a step change kind of route that everybody has fixed in their head from I'm going to start off here, but I'm going to get to here. And there's ways and means in which they almost, it's not even support, it's collaboration really, do you know what I mean? Or almost to the degree of young people having a brand and doing it with somebody else's brand. There wasn't really a method of anybody to support me like that back then. There was a notable grassroots support, and there was an interest in what I was doing, and friends who'd known me as a DJ for years, once I'd started doing this, even their attitudes towards me kind of changed, but that was very much in the real world. And I think now support, when you talk about support, what you're actually talking about is support in the digital realm, I guess, in the information superhighway, whatever weird sort of, the matrix, if you want to call it. It's support within there, and it's because in the sort of 10 years or so since I started doing this as my main thing, the big change is that people are now thinking globally. A lot of people are big in other cities, and they don't have any following, or people aren't aware of them in their own hometown. Simply put, somebody just sent me and was like, oh, by the way, the Sage are looking for an artist in residence. You're a bit arty these days, aren't you? And it was just like a bolt from the blue. It was like, well, yeah, this is exactly what I should be doing right now with my time. So I got in touch and we went through the audition process, for want of a better, it's not audition, but the application process, I guess. And I already had a plan fully formed of what I wanted to do next with Bedwetter. So we discussed it, and it's a testament to the Sage that, you know, I mean, an artist in residence at a concert venue, especially one, I mean, the Sage is regarded as one of the top 5 in the entire world for its type. It's incredibly brave of them to take a risk on somebody who's just spent the last 25 years of their life devoted to acid house. Do you know, it's either a sign of their bravery, or it's a sign that the borders between these things are coming down, or potentially, I think what it probably is it's a sign of both intersecting. But it's the most wonderful opportunity in my life. And as I was saying to a friend the other day, that it feels like the art world has opened its door, a slight crack to somebody from our world. And as such, while I know everybody's going to do amazing works, the pressure on me to do something that blows it off its hinges and leaves it open for people to follow me through is immense. So it's literally, it's taken over my life now. And it's a really nice opportunity, because it would be wrong of me to suddenly say, oh, right, I've been given this opportunity, so I'm going to jump ship and I'm going to make a symphony. Because, I mean, that's fine, but what it is it's almost saying that dance music is my dirty secret. So what it is it's trying to find all of the artful things and all of the things that I'm proud of and that engage with me on a very deep, resonant level about this thing that we've been devoting our lives to, and find a way of using the opportunity and the concert venue setting and sort of, I don't know, all of the sort of beautiful support that I'm going to get for it to create something that's fully representative of me, fully representative of the region, but also fully representative of the world that I've just come from as well, or the world that I'm still in, the world that I'm, that they've opened themselves up to. So it's a really exciting moment for that. I've got 10 months to do a performance piece. I'll not give away too much information about what I've put on there. What I will say is I've set up a project diary, which is Bedwetter Music. That's the Instagram handle. So instagram.com, Bedwetter Music, BEDWETTER music. And that is acting as a process diary. So every inspiration, everything that's came through, everything that is informing the work that I'm creating is slowly being revealed on that Instagram, along with my sort of ambitious, or should we say idiotic, plans as they come to me. For me, and I think for a lot of what I'd like to point out or make sort of reveal to a lot of artists, the biggest struggle I have, and I imagine that I'm not alone in that, is the struggle with myself and my sense of identity and my sense of worth. Very difficult when you commit yourself to a creative discipline as being your living, but also the way that everybody knows you, because what you end up doing is you end up wrapping your entire sense of self in the success of the things that you do. But because we're in an industry-based model rather than an arts-based model, you see, most artistic or creative things are based on funding and grants from governments and organisations that believe in the value of the creative outputs and raise money and provide money to support and develop them. Dance music or electronic music that you dance to, club music, nightlife music, is an industry model. We come in here, and to support ourselves, we have to sell the things that we make. Now, there's a very difficult sort of sliding scale that creates, because on the one hand, you've got pure artfulness, which is only going to be really picked up upon by a smaller amount of people, but is probably truer as an expression of a lot of artists who come in from the same direction as me. And on the other hand, you've just got pure commerciality, which will be liked by the masses. And, anybody should really be on a sliding scale of that, because at the end of the day, I do still want to make people dance. But the thing about that sliding scale is, if you're in an industry model, the industry model, the metrics for success are financial achievements, and now, even further than that, is social media acceptance, the like levels, views, all of these different things that you can get many of. And obviously they swing more into popularity than they do into a self-expression. So what you're having is, you have a constant battle of going, I'm really popular, but I'm selling out. I'm really unpopular, but I'm being true. And sort of, it becomes a battle between a personal metric and an industry metric. You wouldn't have this if you're in another creative discipline. The only worry you'd have is how your work's received by the people who you want to target to, and you can target to whoever you want to do, because mass acceptance is not the goal. Mass acceptance is the only goal when you're trying to fill clubs and sell records. So yeah, that's a real difficulty for an individual, and I've struggled with that for a very long time. Well, I'm going to take the question and examine the phrasing of the question, because that's the most important part of the answer. And the important part of the phrasing is make it. And the trick is not to work out the way to make it and what's the route. The trick is to work out what making it is to you. Is the biggest problem for a modern artist today. Just taking it on a very big aside, and during lockdown, when I've mentioned that I was looking towards making this charity, I've now combined with a bunch of friends, and I'm opening up a building to support local artists in the region. Now, the way that I've put that together is that will actually also pay my wages, that's my job now. I'll always create music. I'm working as an artist now, and I'm also, making dance music is a compulsion to me. But what this has changed for the first time in my life, well, at least in the last 15 years, making music isn't my source of income now. So once you remove the income element from that, any success from a popularity point of view is purely ego. And unfortunately, we have to wrap up our ego, and we have to wrap up our need to support ourselves into the same type of thing. So success becomes a very, very tempting thing, which is It's money, your name going higher on the lineup, social media following being increased, being asked to play bigger clubs, bigger crowds, etc. And that becomes success, and that becomes making it. But I've done that, and I went up that for quite a while, and I've achieved some fairly notable things. I've not set the world on fire, but from the type of music that I create, I've gone as high or as far as I possibly could ever want to do. And the bigger and the better that things are, is not necessarily any form of success. But unfortunately, you program yourself that that's the thing that you're searching for. Now, a lot of people, that might very well be what they're searching for. And if it is, then that's great. That's a brilliant positioning, because you've got a clear path of what it is that you want. But for those of us who are perhaps a little bit more, for want of a better word, sensitive, or for those of us who maybe, I don't know, overthinkers, or maybe just us who've, got artistic sort of pretensions, or, are into this for whatever reasons, or it's just a bit more meaningful for us, you've got to be very careful not to fall into that trap that you're unsuccessful just because you're not doing the same thing as other people. I think a big thing to do is to stop comparing yourself to other people. I think people come into this now, and it's been created by Instagram and the imitative nature of Instagram, but people come into this and they, like a 16-year-old will get themselves a set of decks, or not even a set of decks, they'll get themselves a copy of record box or whatever else, and start buying or ripping digital tunes, and decide that they want to become a DJ, or they go to uni and do it. Like, the change now in the last decade, since it became so lucrative to do it, is as soon as they do it, they come up with their DJ name, and they come up with the route, and like, I'm going to play these parties, and I'm going to put this on, I'm going to open my record label, and I need to have, I need to release music, because that's one of the things you need to do, and my Instagram needs to look like this, and I need to be putting up posts that look like the post that person's done, and that'll take us to that level. Then when I get to that level, I'm going to do all that. And they have a career path mapped out for them before they've even played in a party that rewards you. And once you've mastered that, and once you've done that, move on to the next thing that looks like a nice challenge, and there's a next reward. And sort of keep your eyes on your feet, not on some imaginary sort of prize at the end of it, because it sends you crazy. It sent me crazy. I came into this with no expectations of going anywhere, but as soon as you start getting a sniff of climbing a ladder, you can see how many steps you've gone up, and you go, well, I don't want to go back down, and I need to keep on going up. And it's fake. It's a fake reality. The only thing that should matter to you is the experience that you're having at the time, the music that you want to make, or the music that you want to share with other people, whether it's playing it or creating it, and the experience you're going to have with them. Just do it one experience at a time and nail that and enjoy it. And that way, Jesus, I mean, you might not end up selling out a festival arena, but I tell you what, you'll have a much more happy existence from it. I'm probably not alone on this, but you start thinking more about, legacy is the wrong term, but sort of the value of the things that you're doing. And for the last decade or thereabout, really all I've been doing is pleasing myself, making money, and sort of exalting myself and putting myself on a pedestal. Now, that's fine, do you know what I mean? Good on us. But it's not as fulfilling as it perhaps could be, and I have to kind of start thinking about what I'll leave behind. So you start wanting to move more towards doing something of value, something that will benefit other people. And especially, as a family man as well these days, like my priorities have changed as well. And so, I guess it lends you an extra sort of layer of consideration to other people, because you've got no choice but to consider your family at the end of the day. And so the thing I've realised is that my region, and the identity of my region, and the sort of fortunes of my region are incredibly important to me. And the other thing that I'm really conscious of is, unlike a lot of other areas, unless we do something about it, nobody else is going to do it for us. There's never been a big streaming event from any of the big guys in Newcastle that the press printed only really cover us when it's a narrative that fits in with the concept of either, big banging tunes, or it's something to do with the idea of sort of some kind of hard house narrative that they want to push about the region, about it being some kind of alien subculture. The online press, and the biggest online press, just don't cover us full stop. Don't even reply to any emails that you send. And that's fine, because that's been the story of the northeast of England since day one, do you know? And the other thing that I think Northeast England suffers from is that people view it in the terms of maybe 3 cities rather than a whole region. And it's a whole region. Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Newcastle, all of the surrounding areas are all one region with a shared history. And what I'd really like to see, because the talent that's coming up from here is phenomenal. It's just not getting any of the traction or any of the outward support that these bigger sort of kingmakers would like to give to other regions. So what I'd like to do is be involved in creating a fertile environment where we don't need their support, where we're doing things that are so good that they come to us and we can choose whether or not we deal with them. Because if they want to marginalise us or if they want to ignore us in this region, that's absolutely fine, because we've got talent to spare and we're not needing anything that's almost a sort of, you know, symbiotic relationship with press or whatever else that feed off us. When I feel, again, like I say, that sort of locality and sort of locally sourced things are going to take on a greater significance. This is the perfect time where we can kind of plug in to doing something that that really, really benefits the region. It would be amazing if it was something that not only nurtured its local talent, but was happy to propel them into the wider world, but also didn't feel the need. There's other cities that do this. Glasgow is amazing. And Glasgow is not so unlike the Northeast. Just seems to be a bit more of a romantic notion for the press to write about, that's all. But the fact is that there's so many institutions and so many things that support its local talent that there's absolutely no need for the modern DJ to move out to Glasgow if they don't want to. And many of them haven't, do you know what I mean? And I think that's what we should be doing with the Northeast as well. What I've been looking at is ways of sort of, I don't know, funding and supporting people and bridging the wealth gap as well, because I do feel that there's a particular situation within electronic music at the moment where if you want to support it, I think a lot of people are being priced out of being able to survive. There's a lot of people who come at this from a point of view who have got a lot more resources than your average working class kid in the Northeast. And I'm not saying they're buying their careers, but they're certainly they've certainly got an unfair advantage on certain people. So what I've learned is over the years I've got enough connections, enough friends, enough sort of goodwill and enough sort of insight that I believe that I can actually create something that allows people from my region to gain their own competitive edge, to level the playing field, to be able to do that, because the voices that are coming from here are phenomenal, from everything through some sort of, you know, banging techno to weird left field music to the more mainstream things where we have actually got quite a number of sort of artists already breaking out, and hopefully they'll keep the door open for the rest of them, from ambient music, experimental, you know, everything that's coming from here. And that's just on my side and my particular interest. That's not even touching sort of hip hop and drum and bass and things where I'm not as sort of knowledgeable or as plugged into the scene. So yeah, I think now is the moment that you know, I think I can enable or help or start the process of, because it won't be me who does it in the end, it'll be the people from here who do it, but of us coming together and actually making this region a formidable area where, yeah, people can ignore us up to a point, but from what I want to do here, they'll not be able to ignore us, and it won't even be an option for them anymore. You've been listening to me talk at length as Manpower. Thanks for that. Thanks for tuning in to the RRP.